and you see the pink, the red, the blue. Let's make that our target. The country must be red everywhere. That's how we'll ensure that it's too big a margin for anybody to take over. And then in the back end, we are going to have to do more of what we're already doing. We need information, basic information of the voter. What are their names? How do we contact them? Where those who are on social media, how do we link up with them? We also need that information for our candidates, but we also need that information for the opposition, because we have to get in there and challenge them. See what messages they are giving out. How do we challenge them? And the other group that we have to really look at are the people who are perpetuating the violence. We have to get those people, because if we are to protect our people during the vote, we have to know who is who, right up to village level. And the people, when you talk to them, they know the information, but we collectively have to have it in the back of our mind, so that if we are to carry out the protest vote, we are going to have to somehow see how do we surround these people, not physical surrounding, but how do we counter their activity. So we'll need that information, and those of you who have access to people on the ground or who have the technical knowledge, please, will need that support. And then for Northern Uganda, for example, we are talking about 9,000 polling stations. So that's a lot of human resource. So what we had decided what we had thought about as our group is that how do we move from family level to the polling station, and then combining those polling stations into what would be like an election hub or a protest hub, so that all the information we have, if we are messaging to that hub and maybe not to the individual families. So thank you so much. We are going to do this.
Thank you so much. Another round of applause for our comrades from DMV. Yeah, thank you, Comrade Mary, and your group that compiled that data. You know, Northern Uganda, that topic is very passionate to me. My mother comes from the north, and hearing that, it's really showing that there is plan for people back home. It's very unfortunate that there is a stretch that comes from Soroti to Abim district. It's about 100 miles. I don't know if any of us here has been there, but personally I've been there. It's like 2-hour drive. But you know, we used to drive for 8 hours to get to Abim district. And at least sometimes they say, when they speak about gerrymandering, because in Uganda, if you add all the MPs from the western part of the region, they beat all the MPs from the north, the central, and the east. So even though we all say in parliament, we are voting all the 3 blocks against western, they can still beat us in the election in the house, on the plenary. So that was intentional. I've been to all the regions. When you go in the east, you can drive big stretches and you don't see people there. But you know why? Small sub-counties are districts. You find people coming to parliament with 7,000 votes. And you have Semujunganda in Kampala in parliament right now with 75,000. You have our comrade Jaden, comrade Narukora. He's in parliament with over 20,000 votes. But back in the western part of the country, 3,000 votes, and someone is a member of parliament. That's a mockery. In America, every election, they recount the population, then they repartition, if need be, the members and representatives of the House. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we shall take questions later after the discussion. I can see there are questions popping out. But thank you so much for that plan from the National Unity Platform. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm seeing ministers here discussing stuff. I don't know. I'm seeing ministers discussing. You know the challenge we have? Museveni being 80 years old, we all think that a minister should be 70. That's what we think. If you ask for MPship in Uganda and you're 30 years old, they say, akana kachali katu. Akana katu agazachi. Because they expect someone to be 60 years, 65, to be a member of parliament. That is so unfortunate. The youngest MP here in America, thank you, Doctor. Yeah, the youngest MP in America is Maxwell Frost. He's only 28 years old. He's in the Congress. And no, that's not news. It doesn't surprise anyone that is in Congress. But in most of the Commonwealth, MP. And that's the barrier that we have to really put to an end. So, thank you so much, Comrade Mary. And I think, as advised by Doctor, we can take the questions, one to three, then they'll be answered later. Mama, what did you suppose?
Thank you so much. I wish to thank the presenters. I wanted to know, first of all, I think we need real-time data to be able to tackle the issues in any region, because you didn't mention any data or statistics. Northern Uganda, I know, has 35 districts, and it has 7 million people. But I wanted to advise all the presenters that we need real-time data if we are to tackle the issues in any region. Having said that, I wanted to know the role of the Nup district offices which were opened up, because you are looking for allies, you are looking for ways of working within an area. So I know that Nup opened up offices, district offices or localized offices. So how are they functional? How are we going to link up with these offices?
Yeah, thank you, Mama. Thank you so much. I think we'll have a session whereby all the discussants here have to come and speak about and reply those questions. So please don't hesitate to raise your hand and put forward a question for those who are going to be presenting. So, ladies and gentlemen, Mama, thank you for that question. And I think it's taken. You'll be answered later. We have our comrade from the great Massachusetts, the Eastern Coast, who is going to be discussing. We have Comrade Mugisa Abraham and Comrade Blessing Wafula. Please come through so that we hear from you guys. Because of this conversion, I'm getting a chance to meet a lot of people. Comrade Abraham, please come through. We've been on the phone for over 2 years, and I've never met this gentleman, but a very committed fighter, a very committed soldier, and I know these are the young people that we really want to get involved. Yeah, thank you so much. Because muchimanyi sazi ne myaka 5 obera young people okusinira ku bekinana. Thank you.
David's first.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Blessy Wafula. A little bit about me. I'm a freshman at UMass Boston, and I would like to present my paper that I wrote on corruption in Uganda and what we can do to change that. So, to start off, I would like to talk about how a government rooted in corruption is ultimately a self-destructive system. It erodes its trust and it fails to serve its citizens. And often it relies on fear and force to maintain control. We've seen a lot of those factors play into Uganda over past elections. And we have seen how the government has failed to serve its people and is instead using them for their own personal gain. In the United States, you see that there's multiple safeguards and checks and balances that are designed to reduce corruption in leadership. We see that in presidential elections here, they involve campaigning on policies and beliefs, engaging voters, and fundraising within transparent rules. We also see that presidents are elected indirectly through the Electoral College and solely not by popular vote. And we also see strict term limits, only 2 4-year terms allowed. These structures are meant to prevent power consolidation and protect democracy. However, in Uganda, the reality is very different. We have seen that the President Museveni has been in power for many, many years, longer than I've been alive, and his prolonged leadership is not a true reflection of what the people would like, honestly. His rule has been plagued by repeated allegations of corruption, repression, and election manipulation as well. So the second thing I'd like to touch on is the mismanagement of public resources that we've seen with this government. Museveni's government has faced persistent criticism for misusing national resources. Foreign aid, government budgets, and funds meant for public projects often never reach the intended beneficiaries. Allegations include large sums of money siphoned into private accounts of government officials, embezzled and misallocation in the sectors like health. There's a huge lack of medical supplies and understaffed facilities. We see that in hospitals in Uganda, they do not have the adequate care that the people would need, and this is all due to the government failing its people. We see education is also very, very poorly maintained. Having family in Uganda, having been in Uganda for a little bit, I see that if your kid's not in private school, they most likely won't get like good education, which it keeps the people oppressed. Not having education does not allow people to be knowledgeable in what's going on, and it keeps the people oppressed. We see poor infrastructure and terrible public works, all because the government is using its people instead of serving them. Lastly, on this section, I'd like to say that citizens are also excluded from budget and financial decisions. This exclusion means that people have no voice in how the money that belongs to them and should be going to them is being used, even though it directly impacts their quality of life. The lack of transparency in government contracts. Museveni's administration often awards major government contracts without competitive bidding. He frequently, these contracts go to family members of Museveni, close political allies, businesses with strong political connections. This keeps people oppressed because people cannot often branch out into entrepreneurship and do different things because their government keeps them down. And this practice is sometimes normalized culturally by using public office to benefit one's family or community. It's not widely challenged. The consequences of these include inflated project costs due to lack of competition. We see low quality public services such as roads, hospitals, utilities, and legitimate companies without political ties are locked out of opportunities, reinforcing economic inequality. The fourth thing I'd like to touch on is political patronage and elite capture. Museveni's power is maintained through a network of loyalty rather than demographic accountability. Political patronage, high-ranking positions given to people based on loyalty, personal ties, not qualifications, public support, and in return, these officials protect Museveni's power and keep him where he is today. Officials often misuse state resources, such as military, police funding, for personal enrichment and political control. Government funds are regularly channeled into buying votes in rural areas, such as northern Uganda that we just touched on, and funding pro-Museveni rallies, also suppressing opposition activity. The 2021 election is a case study that we can use to see how this has played out in recent years. The opposition candidate, President Chagulani Robert, he is a popular musician turned into politician, became a serious threat to Museveni's hold on power back in recent years. His campaign appealed to the youth and economically struggling population. Leading up to the election, supporters faced violent clashes with security forces. Mr. Chagulani was arrested in November of 2020 and reportedly beaten, it sparked nationwide protests. The government's response was military and police crackdowns. Many were killed, many were beaten, and it was a very oppressive time in Uganda. There was internet shutdowns and media restrictions to control information flow. Social media blocked out to present opposition organizing. And on election day, which was January 14, 2021, widespread reports of voter intimidation. There was allegations of ballot staffing and tampering, polling stations ran by Museveni loyalists, and the outcome was Museveni was declared the winner, and Mr. Chagulani rejected the results, rightfully so, and claiming fraud. He filed a petition with the Supreme Court, and it was dismissed for lack of merit. And in reality, judiciary has been heavily influenced by the ruling regime. Once again, touching on to how people put in those places of power are loyalists to Museveni. The sixth thing I'd like to touch on is supporters' perspectives on Museveni. Despite the corruption allegations, many Ugandans, especially the wealthy elite, they support Museveni because they cite that he has brought stability after years of civil war and political unrest. They credit him with economic growth and improved infrastructure. Uganda enjoys relative peace compared to neighboring nations facing civil wars. And a critical note is much of this peace comes from military suppression and intimidation caused by the government. Supporters are often insulted from the daily struggles caused by corruption. 7, why is changing this so hard? Corruption in Uganda is deeply embedded in the political and economic systems. As you can see, when Mr. Chagulani tried to bring about change by shedding light on how the election was not accurate, he was turned away by the Supreme Court instead of having it acknowledged as he should have. And seeing that widespread public mistrust of institutions, a lot of this fear that has been embedded in the citizens of Uganda has caused them to have a mistrust of institutions. So a lot of them have lost hope, they've given up, they think there's no point to voting or having a say because they know how it's gonna play out. And many citizens have been conditioned to believe that their poverty is a result of personal failings. They speak on how this is bad luck and how it's just misfortune, but they're not educated on how this is a result of how their government has failed them and how it's continuing to fail them. Speaking out is also very dangerous in Uganda. When corruption is normalized, anti-corruption movements struggle to gain traction. Corruption is a normalcy in Uganda. Unlike in the United States where something like this happening would cause an outrage, in Uganda, many people have grown up with Museveni as president, and this is all they've ever known. So telling them that it could be different, it would be hard to get them out of that mindset. So the path forward and what we can do to change this, we need a mind shift among officials in all different regions. Citizens should be viewed as purpose of governance and not tools of personal gain. Educating the public about the true causes of the immense poverty and poor services that they have been subjected to by their own government, understanding that this isn't just bad luck, but a result of poor governance. Raising both national and international awareness through social media, and this is where we can engage our youth a lot and bring about a big change. And you see this in different ways. Every day you wake up and there's a hashtag going around for a different country. and talking about the problems that they're facing. We can do that with Uganda as well, have Uganda be a main topic, and that can bring about a huge change. Resistance and protest, as well as the protest vote that we are speaking on as well, could eventually create change. Though this might cause an escalation before causing improvement, I think it's something that we would need to go through so we can see a better Uganda. Lastly, I would like to say united citizen movements can dismantle even entrenched corrupt regimes. Having a united front can really bring Uganda change. Thank you so much for having me today. And my name is Blessy Wafula, one more time.
Thank you. People power. People power. People power. Our power. People belongs to. People belongs to. Power belongs to. Is it true in Uganda? Is it true in Uganda? How can we do that? The question comes to you and me. How are we going to turn power to people? I'm going straight. My sister, she has mentioned everything, but I'm going to elaborate more in Runyoro Rutoro, Runyankole Ruchiga. Ndi Musaija Munyoro, I'm a Munyoro. My names are Mugisa Ahmad Abraham. I'm a Munyoro, Mutoro, mixed up. But I'll try to mix both languages, Runyankole, Ruchiga. Owa kamera njagala recording bino ebintu. Babitwale abantu b'owaitu basobole okubiruhura ebinkubaza kiro kya hati. Mukama waitu nkwijja kusooka kukozesa ekigambo kino itwe tukugamba Mukama waitu asiimwe nkoko ndi musajja murokole. Mukama waitu asiimwe. We welcome you all who are here in this diaspora for this wonderful or a trademark. Let this day be a day marked to change Uganda, not just to change, but to remove all ways of dictatorship. I have a few points which I'm going to go through, but I want you all. One, we talked about health. Tubalizeho habyobwomezi. Abantu ba Bunyoro, abantu ba Toro, abantu ba Mbarara, n'ahandi itwena kankitwale mu Western. Inyu Abaganda n'abala mulowooza tuli bulungi. We are the people who are really badly off. Nitwe tukusingayo kuba kubi. Kwenda kutandikira nkujja kubazayo omuntu omu okumanya ali popular oba abaira ali wa amaani akabali musajja muzini bamwetaga kigamba araali. Abamuhulira omukusobola kuba ni mumumanya. Omusajja ogwo akabali muzini yazinaga bintu ebikukwata haihanga. As we see our president Robert Kyagulanyi, that man, he was a Kyagulanyi in Western region. If they ask you how he died, akafanke enkoko. Akahika mwirwaro. Ekienda kiesibiri nti ebyoma tibyogeze ebyokumusemeza. How can kweri mukurora ekyo kihikire? Nti ebyoma the equipments are not cleaned. So, someone who was supposed to clean the equipment was not on duty. Can that be an excuse? And the man died. Omusajja yafa. Habwokuba akaba atali mu layini eri. Bwokuba toli side ya government okuyisana nka kakahuka. Ngaiwe omubu gukugwaho kagutera abukwa nobura guita busara agamba ati kandi omubu oguyisire. We are like insects. Do we want to stay as insects? Can you rise? You people who are in diaspora here, you have a chance. You can speak. No one is going to touch on you. Okondugireyo. Let me leave that part. Let me go on another part. Most people, they complain that Western, we are okay. We are not. Let's go on a last scenario, which has just happened on our brother Eddie Mutwe. I'm sorry if I use the wrong word, Muranganyira. Onu mutabani wakanywa musahi. Yarugayo openly nti ninyowe mwine mu basement. Nanyunywa nabali hano mu diaspora mukuhagira mu 7. Buzima, is that really chichire? Ni orugayo tandikega ndiyo munyankole. Really? And your fellow banyankole are torturing people. And you get pride of what? What have you done to see the country become a proper country whereby we can all fit in and do something? You are lucky you can eat, you can drink, you can come in this wonderful place. Inkweda mungambire inywe. Bazaire banyi bakagyaga mu kichweka nka kinu bayinga ha bazaire banyi abagenda Serena Hotel Kampala bayinga muri hano timukufayo. I'm talking to you. I will not talk to those people. Mugambe bagenzi banyu, tell your brothers back home. Open their ears, their mind. How can someone torture someone and come out openly? And you also say you're Ugandans, and you also say you're human beings. You have a heart. You feel what that person is feeling, really? Nkubasaba, let us open up. Let us start something which can change Uganda. If we don't do it today, don't wait for tomorrow. Education. Nyowe nkasomera Nyanseke, Muhoro, Kagadi. Now it is Kagadi district, by then it was Kibale. Abakumanya isomereri itubali yetagarwe enjunza. Wenkugambeki abakumanya olulimi olumukyetegereza. It was, by then it was a school. It was. I'm so proud I was among the best students in the district. I was among. I'm not proud today that school is no longer there. How many MPs are having their kids in UPE? It is a UPE school. How many? How many people are having their kids in those? Everyone is taking. Bulioma kutwala omwana waye mu private. Habwaki. Baiti yo waba kugamba mutwale mu UPE. Uwoli akusasura milioni ya senta isomero. Iyo wao akugamba. Bakubaha siringi 2,000. 2,000 zikoleke. Sometimes mchura buunyi karanka tekereza. Hankurugo waitu kuli buikara Nyanseke mpura maziga neganda bamu. Nusangoli ali mu parliament at asar ziriho turumwira, and they don't feel anything. They don't have that Ubuntu. Africans, We had what they call Ubuntu. Where did that go? My sisters, my brothers, can we have that? Humanity. Do we have that? Now you're here, you're feeling it. When you leave that door, you'll become a different person. My brothers, my sisters, let us cooperate. Ageteire ine nigogata igufa. Let us be one. Stop that foolishness. Amwe Munyankole, amwe Muganda, amwe Mutoro, amwe this. That is nonsense. Bojo, twekwate hamu. Tukolere hamu. Tusobole kuhindura Uganda. I can't if I'm alone. You can't if you're alone. But him, and I, if we merge, Uganda can become what we want. When we go back to minerals, we have abanyoro tuina mafuta, we have gas, Nenyo muri hano abasomere mukayikiriza Museveni ayikiriza amafuta bagatwale Tanzania mwachulera. Really? The MPs, what do you do in the parliament? And you accept that kind of nonsense? Bakuija kukwata amafuta bagatwale Tanzania. Bino ebikubaire bikrudu ebikola enguudo bisigale Tanzania. Abakozi basigale Tanzania. And then inyo mwenye Uganda emirimu muragiha. Abanyoro abahoyima mukweni mugase muwaga amafuta abana banyu ni bafune emirimu. Hati bagya kora mirimo tuli mu mahanga. Nyonka ni nkola mu kampuni ekutwara abana Dubai. Buli kiro haturuka abana bakuhingura 10 abagenda kora obuhinya. Are we supposed to keep inyo nyona muri hano muri bahinya? Muri suppose kujja kora hano ensi yanyu niye kusinga obugayiga. Mwina amafuta, tuine gold, tuine diamond, tuine silver, tuine copper, tuine iron. What don't we have? Above all, the best weather. We plant food, you don't have to water. And if we at all we put that irrigation system, is there any country can have more food than we? We have everything in our country, but we are here. Me in my house, where I grew up, there is no these ACs and so on. Muri hanu mukurara muzi AC abandi nizibakora na kubi. Betu timuku fayo abandi timuku nihira muri garuka no wanyu. Ensi bwe rabeta hindukiri. One of them, it's me. I can't go home. Mama wanga akafa nkaka huko hali murago sente nkabanzini. Buli kiro twasasuraga ekitabu hayararaga emitwaro nsanju. Emitwaro nsanju kumuha room ho kurara. Buli kiro. Baitu emibazi teriyo. There is no medication even in Mulago. And you're here. Will you all afford to carry your people to bring them here for treatments? Me, I'm saying, Bojo nkubaza kino, inywena abali mbaini nsaba, this time round, baitu kande tiki kusoboka. Buli MP atongera oba wa Nupu, oba waki, if they don't sit together, batongera kugenda mahanga gandi kubajanjaba. Because they have immune, they go out for treatment. Whether you are what, then we can change the country. More especially those dictators. I'm winding up. Munganyira have took a lot of time, but I feel a lot of pain inside me. I don't know whether you feel what I feel. I've talked about health. Lastly, engudo. Roads. Nkuja tinja kantandikire mu Kampala na mbere Kampala, the city of Uganda, is like, I can't even laugh. A city, capital city. Ekwisana ebijongo byo waitu kuli buyikara. Muranganyira ku. Inyo mukuhika. Mukutekereza nti kurungi baitu tutayine engudo. Tituyine engudo nungi za. Omuntu bwakurwara kikumanyisa no muraba na amarwaro hataroho ngudo. Omuntu tajja kuhika mu irwaro. There is no roads. Omuntu wa Mpefu, omuntu wa Rugashali, omuntu wa Buhimba. Let me say this one also. Yesterday, one of my best friend, abantu bange benkirako, abayene banterera polipo ku mubyaro. Bakamu bamutomeireke bati wazo emotoke ka abantu bakyali batira murole. 19 people died because they had no way they can reach to the hospital. Babegene barugaha mupira. 19 they died because there was no any first aid. They took 6 hours to reach at the hospital. They died. Yesterday. Kuhuro busasi bwingi. Iwe owali mu parliament, councillor, chairman 5, nenywe abali hano abayina obusobozi, let us work together for the better Uganda. And then we will rejoice. Mukama abampero omugisa.
People power, our power, NUP, everywhere. Thank you, Comrade Abraham. Bane, the pain is a lot. Muwonge. Let's give him a round of applause. Thank you so much, Comrade Abraham. I respect the fact that however much sometimes we let stuff down, sometimes, we tend to get busy on those meetings that we always hold on Wednesdays as the Boston chapter. That gentleman will always be there, logged on and waiting for the meeting. Thank you for that commitment. Please, let's keep pushing. And the Sister Blessing, she had lectures coming up, so she had to run back to school. But that's very encouraging that she had to spare time and come discuss with us and share with us the knowledge. It's very important as Ugandans to instill the geopolitics that is back home into our children. A lot of parents in America and the diaspora are less concerned about teaching our kids about Uganda. That's the biggest grave mistake. Let me tell you the beauty about Uganda. Do you believe that the land they use in Israel to grow food was picked from Uganda? So, do you believe that a day in the world they sell 2 billion cups of coffee, and Uganda has one of the best coffee that is sold on the world market? Do you believe that from the west coast to the east coast, from north to south in America, they tried to plant coffee here, to cultivate coffee here, to grow coffee here, and it failed? In our beautiful country, you just throw a seedling, you go back to sleep. After 3 months, you come and grab your maize and eat. That's how beautiful Uganda is. So, we have to resharpen ourselves, reawaken ourselves, and remember the task we have ahead. It's a huge task, but we have to keep pushing. Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to invite Mchala Grace Chiwoneka in a small session, then we can take it on. Thank you.
Hey, so I needed to make sure I know what my assignment is. So, people power. Our power. NUP. Everywhere. NUP. Okay, good afternoon to you all. Mine is simple, is to help us focus. Focus on what is in front of us, and this is one major activity that we have to think about as we go through this conference. How are we going to resource the protest vote? That means individually, with friends, communities, and whichever. So ideas are welcome, but we also need you as individuals to participate. So I just need to reiterate the messages that we put out in the morning. We will keep reminding you, and hopefully by the end of this conference, you would have made a determination of what commitment levels you might be able to participate and additional strategies that you think would be helpful. Okay, we have raffle tickets. Raffle tickets agent, Dr. Harriet Nanyonga. She's my sister. So you look for Grace's sister, that's she. She has raffle tickets, and those are sold $10 for 3 tickets. $10 for 3 tickets. Buy tickets for yourself, for your child, for your grandma, whoever you think about. Get them in the raffle, and then every day at the end of the main event, main activities, we will be having a draw. So hopefully we are arranging for today's draw. If not at the end of this particular session, the evening session. So the other piece is pledge cards. The pledge cards are still being organized, but that is for you to think about at what pledge level as an individual. So that's another opportunity to participate, to contribute. On the pledge card, you will see the different contribution levels. The information was being posted on the screen. The pledge levels are 5 gold stars. The lowest gold star, star 1, starts at $30, not $1. $30 to $299, you get a gold star certificate. $300 to $599, you get 2 gold star certificate. $600 to $1,499, you get 3 gold star certificate. $1,500 to $1,099, 4 gold star certificate. And $3,000 plus, you get the 5 very top executive, very, very extremely executive. That one. So we encourage you, this is us. So when they say protest vote is to protest everything you don't like about Museveni, including how you're going to fund this campaign. So let him do whatever. Clean out Bank of Uganda. Let him do. But we are going to do whatever it takes to do that which we must do for ourselves. That's us. We have control over that, and we're going to do it. So we are protesting. We're going to massively mobilize. We're going to massively turn out the campaign, the vote. We have to massively protect that vote and defend it. Kwegamba. Afe. I mean, oba afa koleachi? Afe. So that's the idea, that's the attitude. You're protesting with your action. You're doubling, extra doubling. Everything you do, you're doubling your effort through the... It's like we are voting in protest. That's what it is. So tomorrow, we will have, I think Dr. Kama mentioned, that information is been going out. But tomorrow we are going to open up this discussion of the protest vote fundraiser to our friends that didn't register. So that activity during tomorrow is the opening, the official opening. During the official opening, we are going to also have a global fundraising kickoff. And the idea is to open our experience here to the friends that are not in the room. So that it's global. Again, we are protesting because Museveni doesn't think that we have minds and ideas and we can be creative and we can do things that he doesn't have to buy us to do. We can do things just because we like to do that. So that's going to happen tomorrow. And we shall keep reminding you and reminding you. But I encourage you, don't be comfortable with the smallness of what you're doing. Agitate and challenge yourselves to do more. And then pray to God to give you discernment and challenge yourself to do more. If you've been contributing 300, contribute 3,000. And then figure out how to do that. We got an idea from Colorado. We can also commit and meet that commitment through installments. So those are all ideas, but we welcome more. Thank you so much, MC.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mchala Grace. We appreciate you. Mchala Grace oyo, tubulainza okuba Minister of Ethics and Gender. She can be a good minister in ethics. Thank you. A round of applause to Mchala Grace. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, if you feel comfortable in speaking any other language that is Ugandan, please do. Mr. Mugisa Abraham, webare muno. Naye obuzibu nze we nayogera olwanga ate nze alina okwevuunula. So mujja kuba temuntegeera. Yeah, in our midst we have the aspiring member of parliament of Butembe constituency in Busoga region. That's Honorable Maria Natavi. She's here with us, and we are so much delighted. You know, Museveni waraba the young people like her. He feels so intimidated because omwana toyo talinze kuweza miaka chinana yesimbewo. You get. So we have to break that chain, as earlier said. So ladies and gentlemen, we have drinks outside. You can go grab a refreshment outside. Please feel free. Anytime you can grab something. Also here with us, we have the engine. Allow me to introduce this gentleman. He's the engine behind everything we are seeing here. Please, several chairman of this event, Comrade Moses Mujawa. People power. Yeah, that's our comrade. Twamulonda kubanga yali muwanvu nga atubulira ebiri mu conversion. Yabitugamba nti bijja tambula bulungi. Thank you, my big brother. Thank you so much. Yeah, so we're going to have, lastly, allow me to recognize Mama Serena. Mama Serena is also here with us. She's our comrade fighter from Kenya. Remember, she's not a Ugandan. She's a Kenyan. So, she's here fighting with us. Mama, asante sana, tunakushukuru sana. Asante. So, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to invite Dr. Mtiawa. The times I've called him Mr., he has fined me $20. So you find him, call him Mr., he will fine you $20. He's a landman. So, allow me to invite Dr. Mtiawa, John, to take us through his research and the team. Ladies and gentlemen, the theme of this conversion is that be the change that you need. Be that real change. Me as a person, I would love to drive on beautiful roads. Me as a person, I would love to go to hospitals and find medicine. Me as a person, I would love to make a 911 call, and in 3 minutes, the ambulance is at the door. So that's the theme of this conversion. Be the change that you In fact, I would say, be the change that you badly need, because we need it badly. We need it as soon as 2001, when Museveni first said that I will retire in 2001. So we have a deficit of about 24 years. Because Museveni said, I will retire in 2001. Then he said, I will retire in 2006. Since then, he forgot about retiring. So this is a working conversion, and be the change that you badly need. Banange munzikirize nga tuinda doctor mbanjulire mama Maria, Jajja Maria naye waali mumukubire ku bugalo kanzikirize obugalo wa Jajja Maria we babusinga. Our power, people power. Jajja Maria oyo era we nategeera nti obukadde magezi mujjukira we yatugamba mu town hall nti batuwe yeekolera abeere leader of opposition wakiri. Ensonga enzo muzijjukira. Yali yatulabula dda n'agamba president atulondere wakiri yeekolera yaba atubeerera leader of opposition. Naye nga yakuba dda ttooki mu bintu ebyaliwo. So thank you Mama Maria webale kubeerawo all the time. Yeah, please, Doctor, take it on. Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. Thank you so much. I'm waiting for the helper over there to get the slides going. All right, as you can see, our topic today, and this is Mr. Chibulabuza, also from a very important in our community. He's actually the leader in Minnesota, the leader of Nup. And fortunately enough, he comes from the Busoga region. And as you can see, we are going to discuss a strategic framework for implementing the protest vote in Eastern Uganda. So he's going to play a role there. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being here today. I see some faces from that I've seen on Facebook, and I see someone from London. Thank you so much for being here. Honorable Maria, thank you very much for being here. I will introduce the topic, the introduction to it. We are going to talk about Eastern Uganda in general, which encompasses sub-regions of Busoga, Bukedi, Bugisu, Sebei, Teso, and Karamoja. And ladies and gentlemen, these account for 10 million Ugandans, according to the most recent population census, based on Uganda Bureau of Statistics, 2022. Despite the rich agricultural land in Busoga and Teso, gold deposits in Karamoja, and hydropower assets around Jinja, the region remains marred in poverty, underdevelopment, and political marginalization. The National Unity Platform aims to catalyze change through protest vote strategy tailored to local conditions. By combining grassroots civic education, candidate development, strategic election infrastructure, and diaspora support. And diaspora support is important because I heard Ms. Grace there talk about it, that we are going to play a big role by contributing to the effort. And this framework seeks to transform Eastern Uganda into a model of democratic engagement and socio-economic renewal. Let's give an overview of Eastern Uganda, the demographics, the economy, and the challenges. Eastern Uganda, as I just mentioned, has over 10 million people, concentrated in urban areas like Jinja, Mbale, Soroti, while the rural areas suffer low access to services based on Uganda Bureau of Statistics again, voter turnout historically lags behind, averaging 55% versus 68% nationally. But opposition momentum in 2021, as you saw it, and these are numbers based on figures coming from the government, but we know that they were higher. They are saying that we are moving on from about 21% to over 68%, indicating latent civic energy, and that's based on the Electoral Commission figures. Economic assets. Agriculture in Busoga and Teso comprise Uganda's rice and sugarcane belt. And I think I can be supported with the World Bank 2021. Yet the farmers there do not see the results. They earn 30% below the national average due to lack of local processing. We have gold in Karamoja. And as you know, Uganda, the gold in Karamoja earns $120 million annually, yet very little is reinvested back there. Only less than 5% is reinvested in Karamoja. That's according to African Development Bank 2023 report. Hydropower in Jinja, we do have 180 megawatts of hydropower, which is around 30% of the national capacity. Yet the local communities do not receive, or only receive intermittent electricity. The socio-economic challenges, as we know, poverty and unemployment in rural areas range from 45 to 60%, versus the 21% national average, and that's according to the World Bank report. Youth unemployment exceeds 40%, fueling migration and disenfranchisement. Infrastructure deficits, only 30% of rural roads are paved. One health center serves 30,000 people, well below the World Health Organization figures. Land governance, we have frequent evictions driven by opaque leases. 60% of land disputes in Uganda originate from Eastern Uganda. That's according to the Human Rights Watch of 2021. Illustrative study, we can see that the people in Tanzania and Chigoma, they were able to use $15 million cooperative create a rice mill initiative which increased farmers' incomes by over 40% in a period of 5 years. So that's African Development Bank 2023. This demonstrates the potential localized value chains and cooperative governance lessons directly transferable to Busoga and Teso regions. Political landscape is kind of similar to what the previous speaker talked about, so I won't really go into detail of that, but I'll pass on the report so that it can be on record. But as you know, since 1986, NRM has relied on patronage, coercion, and electoral irregularities to maintain dominance, and that's documented in the Human Rights Watch 2021. Yet, in 2021, Nup captured 30% of the vote in Jinja, 25% in Iganga, and 20% in Mbali. And that's according to the numbers provided by the government. So we know that those numbers were even higher. So what does Nup what's the Nup strategy? Where do we go from here? What are the policy pillars? How can we transform that region? We can do that through agriculture transformation, establish 200 cooperatives, each with 50% government grant, to build processing facilities and boosting farmer revenues by 30% within a short period of time. We have to provide education and technical skills by doubling vocational enrollment in Bali and Soroti, partner with diaspora technical schools to provide online education. We have to provide youth employment and entrepreneurship by launching a 5 million microloan fund for startups, targeting at least 1,000 new enterprises by within a short period of time after Nup takes power. Land rights and legal aid, we have to deploy mobile legal clinics to provide 10,000 land titles and resolve 5,000 disputes in a short period of time. Infrastructure equity, we have to commit 20% national road budgets to eastern districts and rehabilitate more than 500 kilometers of rural roads. Mineral revenue, we have to ensure that Karamoja at least, we have to amend the Mineral Act so that Karamoja can at least retain 25% of royalties to local development in Karamoja. Diaspora integration. We have to leverage the remittances we give. Every year, Ugandans abroad send over $1 billion to Uganda. We have to leverage that so it goes to the areas so there's an equitable provision of resources to Eastern Uganda, because as you saw, it has over 10 million residents, which is almost a quarter of the Uganda's population. Strategic pillars to protest vote implementation. So I'll go through these really quick because they seem almost similar to what previous person had recommended, but I'll just highlight a few that are a little bit different. We recommend that we recruit over 1,200 polling agents and institute rapid response unit to incident documentation via USSD codes. I know she talked about the social media. We have to use digital and diaspora-driven campaigns, deploy SMS platforms to send a lot of SMS messages. So Nup has to get a database of all supporters and increase those numbers and be able to have key performance indicators showing that, yes, we have improved in these areas. So we have to have data in order to be able to get those key performance indicators. And we have to focus on Karamoja because justice, as you saw, there was a time when Southern Sudan was providing most of the oil to Sudan. However, most of the proceeds from the oil was going to Northern Sudan. So as you saw, Sudan was broken into two, and now all the oil is in Southern Sudan, and that's why you see all the fighting going on in Northern Sudan. So we have to focus on Karamoja to make sure that we have justice so that some of that income that's coming from that gold goes back to Karamoja, or is reinvested in Karamoja. How do we counter state control? We have to provide training to over 500 field volunteers, distribute 300 secure USB drives with digital rights guides, orchestrate 50 community caravans, and 200 murals showcasing Nup messaging. Well, in conclusion, as you can see, Eastern Uganda is a very pivotal area because it's a quarter of Uganda's population. And if we want to take power, we need to ensure that these important transformational changes are put in consideration. And so I would like to provide this paper to the team here so that it can be on record for for our research that we did to make sure that Eastern Uganda is a good place to live. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Doctor. Another round of applause to Dr. John Matiaba. Thank you, Doctor, so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we are soon Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, anytime from now, we're going to be joined by the President, the 10th President of the Republic of Uganda, His Excellency Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, is going to be joining us. And mpulira obugalo bukirabika empewo ebayiseemu. Yeah. So if you want to grab a refreshment, we have tea and coffee the other side. Then amazzi and everything the other side. So please grab yourself something to warm you up or to cool you down as we move forward. Ladies and gentlemen, twagala okubajjukiza nti there is going to be a fundraising event through our raffles, and please let's engage, let's involve ourselves in this, because surprisingly it was so shocking when our dear Secretary General David Lewis Rubongwe last time said Museveni used 900 billion for the campaigns. 900 billion. In fact, that's almost $1 trillion. Kubanga if you count zebabbira mu nguzaawo mu campaign yawo balabika bali mu 1 trillion plus. Imagine nga National Medical Store bajiwa 900 billion to operate for a full year. But in a period of 3 months, they used 900 billion okunoonya akalulu n'okugulirira abalonzi. So, being in charge for 40 years, and no one asks you nti zino million bbiri zigenzeewa. Because if you're married here, kazo ajja kubuuza ssebo, dollars zino 5,000 zitwalawa. At least there should be some scrutiny. Walina omuntu alina okunyeenyaamu ssebo zino 3,000 zagenzeewa. Ssebo guno omutwalo wagutaddewa. But imagine okuwamba eggwanga nga teryakubuuza nti zino $2 zagenzeewa. That's the system we live in. And it's our duty to fight hard and change stuff back home. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me invite Comrade Mbayo. Comrade Mbayo Richard is also an aspiring Member of Parliament in Uganda. Small body, big brain. Is a PhD holder. Musajja wa maanyi, so ebintu by'abasoma bino kireka byasigalira basajja size eno. So, comrade, take it on. Yeah, as we wait for Comrade Imbayo, ebintu. Yeah, they are trying to connect the slides. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, the National Unity Platform, njagala okubajjukiza nti yawezezza emyaka 5 beddu emyaka 5 egy'okusumbwa nakyemalira, emyaka 5 egy'okumufuula uncomfortable. Mu myaka 5 muno Museveni akadiidemu emyaka nga 12. Because in Uganda when they are taking pictures of him, kireka bamugamba neyegoba makeup ne bamuteekamu filter. But whenever they take pictures when he's outside of Uganda, things are different. When they took pictures in Tanzania, mwamulaba engeri gy'oli afaanana. The last picture they took was in Kenya. So kirabika bakameramani be Uganda bamuteekamu filter. Nja kubuuzaako mwami akirafu oyo baba abagamba bateekengamu filter. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have a presentation from Comrade Richard Imbayo. He's in Bukedi region, so he's an aspiring member of parliament, and inshallah.
Thank you, comrade. Yeah, good evening, comrades. People power, our power. Wow. My name's Richard Imbayo, and I'm here on behalf of 3 chapters: Washington chapter and California chapter, as well as Colorado. And there is a reason why I decided to be the last presenter of the day, because we were given one of the most important regions in Uganda, that is Buganda, others call it Central Region. Why are we talking about Buganda? Buganda, let me talk up, it holds the capital city. You know what it means. We have the highest population. Just guys, the DJ work on the system so that we can proceed with the data. Please, all right. Yeah, the topic today we are discussing is turning this content into votes, mobilizing Central Region for a protest vote and defending the people's victory. We all know that in 2021, our victory was stolen. But now, what's the way forward? That's why we decided no, as California, Washington, and Colorado, we were given responsibility of the most important region in Uganda, being Central, because they have power, they have the highest population, and like everything, it has to be done from Central Uganda, also known as Buganda. Why? Because as a political scientist, governments only mostly change from the capital. I've never heard of where the government was overthrown from up country, because power is within the central. That's why we need to discuss the way forward. How are we going to support Buganda region or Central region to ensure that we have power, we have change we need in Uganda. Second slide. So we are looking at Uganda. We have a critical, faces another critical election next year, but we don't need to talk about next year. The issue is today, because 2 weeks from now, members of parliament are going to be going for nominations, and that is 16th. So we need to be prepared. 2026 is just for election. Election is on 12th of January. However, we need to prepare ourselves today. But how are we prepared? Yeah, and in 2021, Buganda region was overwhelmingly voted for NUP. So that's an advantage. Within Buganda region, we have over 57 MPs of our party. That is very important. We have to build on that. So in the first election, which was our first time, if we manage to get 57, how are we going to do this time? So we shall be discussing what as we go on. Yeah, so our strategy focuses on mass mobilization, because for every win, you need to mobilize people. If you have the numbers, at the end of the day, you will win. But last time we mobilized, but there were some issues as we'll be discussing. We need to improve as we go on. Yeah, winning is not enough. We must defend the people's victory. Honestly, you know what happened in 2021? They cut off internet, and Electoral Commission started uploading results. Then after some time, they removed it because they were not turning. There was not turning so they had to remove such things. So now, how are we prepared in an election? We call it a protest vote, but how are we prepared where there is no internet? We have to be sure that they're going to turn off internet because they know the power of internet. Next slide. Yeah, what is a protest vote? A protest vote is a vote cast in an election to demonstrate a dissatisfaction with a choice of candidates or the current political system. Why? Why do we call it a protest vote? Guys, look at 40 years down the road. I'm 35 years old, so I was born under Museveni's regime. Imagine, I'm 35 now, I'm also looking for office, but Museveni still wants to lead our country. Oh God. So our massive, as Colorado, Washington, and California chapter, we agree that this is how we're going to work on a protest vote. One of the key pillars is mass mobilization. We need to do mobilization, and we shall be talking about door-to-door campaigns to help us and mobilize our people. Informed participation. Information. One wise man said, "Information is power," because if you are informed, at least you can help to enlighten as a member. Because at least you are entering in this in the war with something, with some knowledge that will help us. Voter protection, that's, I think, one of the biggest challenges we had in the previous elections. But now, how are we prepared? Yes, we can excuse ourselves that NUP in 2021 was just a young party. Remember, it was formed in 2020, but now we have no excuse. We have the delivery results at the end of that day. These 5 years, I call it 5 years experience, I believe we have learned, and now we have to deliver the new Uganda promised to the Ugandans. And our post-election vigilance, we need to be vigilant. And in the next slide, we shall talk about how, in two details, how we should be vigilant. Because the reason why we call it a protest vote, it's not after voting, but the post-voting, that's the most important, post-election. Because we are voting on 12th January, and probably on 14th they declare the winner. But how are we prepared for that transition? It's also very important. And we must be powerful, peaceful, lawful, but result. We have to be ready for everything. Yeah, talk about Buganda or Central Region. Yeah, Central Region, also known as Buganda, greatly contributed to the independence movements in Uganda. As I said, we hold the capital city, and as I say, of course, every government, capital city is very important because that's where administrative power is. The political consciousness, cultural pride, and activism. Yeah, Kampala, our Central Region, as I call it, Buganda, is the most, they are politically informed compared to other regions. Yes, there is, but remember, the presence of media houses, people are easily have access to information, which are compared to us as regions. And at least they have electricity, so that at least people have access to information compared to other regions. Yeah, the stronghold in recent elections. Since 2000, Central Region have been voting opposition for some good time. What does that imply? It means that if this is our stronghold, the Central Region, we have to use it very well to ensure that our people, we deliver the win we need next year. Central Region, we have 26 districts with over 11 million people, and this is from 2024 population census. However, I summarize basically we summarize 3 important districts. Talk about Kampala. Kampala hosts over 1.8 million people who are residents in Kampala, and Wakiso, which is the biggest district in terms of population with 3.3 million people, and Mkono with 0.9 million people, making a total population of 6 million. Now, how are we going to use this 6 million? Because I will continue repeating this so that at the end of this discussion, you know how important these 3 districts are. Why? We have the parliament is in central, and within those 3 districts, we have the judiciary within those 3 districts I have mentioned, and another, what I talk about is like the state house. We need, so if they are going to rig election, we have to match the state house to take over our victory. So the emphasis on those 3 districts, please take me on the other slide. I need to emphasize that point. The previous slide. Yes, Kampala is the capital city with over 1.8 million people, Wakiso over 3.3, and Mkono. These 3 districts, people are informed, the young people are willing to join us, and almost like we have the highest number of supporters. If you look at the statistics, how we voted, but how are we going to energize these people to ensure that we take this victory? Even if we have only 1 million people after elections, it will help us. Because if you are after of those 6 million suburbs, people still live within Kampala Wakiso region, and you have only 1 million people to match, it will help us as like the beginning. Let me take you through in 2020. When there was a protest, when His Excellency Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu was arrested in Lubuka, and demonstration started in Kampala. When Kampala started burning up, other regions also coped. So what does it mean? When Kampala talks, other regions listen. So we need to pay emphasis on that. Next slide. Yeah, this is still the Buganda region, and as I said, the largest voting bloc, the heart of resistance, and in 2021, the overwhelming race voted for what? For NUP, and it plays a central role in what Uganda's political direction. Decides who becomes the president at the end of that day, because in terms of the population, with where over 11 million people resides there, and a protest vote here sends a national message. So how Buganda speaks of central region, as a regions learn from that. As I said, we saw it in 2020. When there was demonstration in Kampala, other regions also started burning up. So how are we going to use our safe haven very well? Right? It's very important. Next slide. Yeah, this is the political mode in Buganda, or call it central region. Those pictures you're seeing is like, this was on November 18th when His Excellency Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu was arrested. November 2020, over 57 people were killed based on what the government reports. And right now, look at the abductions. Most of abductions are done within central region. Why? Because that's the most sensitive political region, because once they try to create fear and instill fear among people, they believe, oh, they can neutralize central region because that's where power is. Talk about youth unemployment. As I said, like over 6 million suburbs, and 70% of Ugandans, like in every 10 people you meet, 7 are young, and we young people, we are unemployed. So those are the sum of issues we are facing within Buganda region. And another point is like the disrespect for Buganda's institutions. Buganda's institution has been disrespected by the current regime. And we have heard Museveni saying, Fenga Baganda, I will crush them. And we have been seeing, they are crushing them. So such things, we need to pay attention to it. So this emotion must feel action. We should build on these emotions, the challenges, because as we say, if you look at right now, the most political prisoners are coming from this region. Why? Because the state fears central region. I'm not like decampaigning other regions, but central region, also known as Buganda, is very important compared to other regions, as I've mentioned. Yeah, so we need, how are we going to utilize this, our data advantage? Next slide. Next slide. So we are talking about mobilization strategy. grassroots networks involve religious leaders, clan leaders, border borders, market vendors. As we are seeing, those border borders, they play a very important role in our struggle. Those guys are contributing as little as they can. That shows that we need them. Because those are the majority of, most of the border riders are youth. So we need them on what? On our platform. Then civic education. Civic education means like teaching people. We need to teach our people. If you look at over the previous elections, over 300 votes were invalid. What does it imply? That someone maybe would have voted, he created time to go and vote, and at the end of that day, he takes maybe outside the box. It means we have lost that what? That vote. So civic education, our party should invest a lot of energy. We should recruit volunteers to teach people how to vote, especially the old generation, some people who are unable to read and write, or they cannot take. At least tell them, we need to train them how they place their thumb into the box, so that in the end of the day, we reduce the number of what? Invalid votes. Imagine 300,000 were invalid votes. That's the highest number. So then, as I say, like, Uganda-based materials. Yes, we should translate this message in the local language. Mandela once said that if you communicate to a person using his local language or the mother tongue, the message goes to the soul. Imagine if I was preaching in Uganda, tomanya nandifunye ku bugalo naye katugendera so that we encourage other people. You know. So then focus on Kampala work, I've already talked about. Then forums on law rigging tactics and electoral rights. We need to focus on how we're going. We have election laws, but they are weak. So within these weak systems we have, how can we find a solution and liberate our country? I'm talking about another slide. Is about social media. Right now, social media is very important. Digital and media campaigns. Vote watch campaign, such as WhatsApp groups. Imagine, like for me as a candidate, I have like over 3 WhatsApp groups. The administrators, the general supporters, and the executive. Those WhatsApp groups, once you have a message, distribute that message to ordinary people. Translate in the local man's language so that that message can enter to their soul, and then also send it to the different communities. Imagine if you are in 100 groups and you keep sharing that message, at the end of that day, you are sharing enlightening to other people. Then we should continue having weekly Twitter spaces, TikTok lives. We are doing this. However, I encourage our party, especially the Department of Communication, to improve. We need a direction. Where we are heading, I remember, I think you remember what happened in the 2021 election. There was a lot of propaganda. How are we going to control propaganda? And another concept, like the state always hires these guys and we lose focus. This time, we shouldn't lose focus. The state can come up with different diversions and then we lose our interest. No, we should focus on what? On our message. Then as I said that, do we need our party's stand to guide on how online soldiers spread the information? I think on our perspective as California, Washington, and Colorado states, we believe that it's high time for our political party, which is NUP, to give guidance, because we have some of those foot soldiers that are doing a great role, but they need some kind of give some enlightenment, give some more light, so that our message is put forward in the right way. Why? Because the state media, I'm talking about the mainstream media, it has been censored. So the only platform we have is social media. So how we use it's very important going forward. Please try to minimize so that people see the message. Minimize the slides. Yes, thank you. So we are talking about the challenges of 2021 and how we're going to fix it. One of the challenges we had last time is no vote protection. We reached, I'm from Eastern Uganda, regardless I'm presenting on Central because I belong to California, and California was given that. So vote protection was one of the biggest challenges we faced in the previous election. We had polling agents throughout the country, but the state, towards the end, they started picking up these agents. So how are we going to avoid this? And if you pick up a polling agent at the polling station, it means that it gives room for them to change DRA form results. So right now, as we are entering this election this time, we should focus like at least appointing 3 people at one polling station. In case they arrest Mbayo, we have another person to replace so that our vote is being protected. That's one of the issues we discussed. Then second challenge is the internet broke out. Internet was blocked, but now how are we going to do it? And I'm very sure that even in 2026, they're going to do the same. So how are we going to survive without internet? I would encourage our secretariat that this time, let us use SMS messages. You know, most smartphones, especially iPhones, you can take a picture and forward that DRA form. You don't need the internet, you can send a picture. That is very important. So going forward, what do we recommend as West Coast states or chapter is that what we need to do, every polling agent should have a smartphone, because at least after taking the declaration of results form, the DRA form, send it to the secretariat, we are safe. I know they will come and pick it, but at least we have a soft copy. At the end of the day, by the time they manipulate this, you have the original copy which has been forwarded. So it means you can send a text message without using internet. So I know that's why tomorrow we are officially launching the fundraising. Now if you are suggesting that we need every polling agent to have a smartphone, so how many smartphones are we going to have to ensure that we send a DRA form from Karamoja to Kampala, you know? So we need a lot of resources to implement such strategies. Another challenge we had is uncoordinated protest plan. Honestly, after election, one of the challenges that Museveni has been using is like, okay, once you arrest the leader, it is done, you know? So it was uncoordinated. Some few people, you know, if you go to streets like 100, all over the police will come and take you. But what we're suggesting right now, why can't we start mobilization right now? So that if it's like, okay, the dictator has taken over our victory, why can't we move out in our numbers? And the only way to avoid that is like, we need to defeat fear. Once we defeat fear, nothing can stop us. The challenge number 4, it is emerging leadership. We all know that in 2021, most of our top leadership were their first timers in politics. However, right now we have 5 years experience. At least we have these 5 years from 2020. We have been seeing how system is running. We expect something at the end of the day, because we had exchanges in 2020. The president was the first time, the secretary general, okay, you know, it's just a revolution, like they emerged. So we had leadership challenges, but now we have 5 years. We should have used these 5 years to learn and prepare for what? Going forward, especially next year's election. So as I said, that the good news is that now the leadership have got 5 years of experience. And these 5 years, if you start from 2020 up to now, those are 5 years. So we have no excuse going forward. Next slide. Yeah, the post-election strategy. That's very important, because after voting, what next? So what the dictator has been doing, or let me just say, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. You know, one of the wise men once said, Albert Einstein, you know, you are like doing the same thing every day. It's like, okay, you are eating maybe cassava every day, and you say, oh, I'm not looking nice. But you're not balancing, you don't have balanced diet, and how do you expect to look nice, you know? So that's what the wise man said. So you can't be doing the same thing and expect different results. What's the point here? In the previous elections, in 2026, 7 arrested Kizza Besigye. In the previous election, Robert Kyagulanyi, our president, was put into house arrest. what dictator does, like, okay, if you arrest him and put into house arrest, you keep him for 3 months. Once you swear in, and you release him, and that will affect the political mode. After 3 months, like people have lost hope, you know. So going forward, what we have planned, what we have decided, like this time our leadership after voting, they shouldn't return home, because if you return home after voting, you are going to be put into house arrest. They keep you for 3 months. We wait for May 26, the guy swears in, then they release. After, imagine you are voting in January, the guy is going to swear in May. Those 4 months, people would have lost hope. By the time you say, oh, let us go back on street, people would have gone up on life. So going forward, we said, no, it's just a suggestion. We should do our leadership, top leadership, after voting, why should we return home? When they struggle, we have to make it really, this time, different, you know? And this was, we had two questions to our leadership. So, are we building leaders who can lead from the front, or are we repeating the history with MPs and councillors who disappear after ballot and wait to swear in? Those are the challenges we had in the previous election. Most of our MPs, they were self-seekers. They never went outside on the street to mobilize people. So they were just, since I won as a member of parliament, let me just wait for my time. And our leader was betrayed. So how are we going to do differently? I think that question goes to our election management committee, because now on 20th they start voting. So if we repeat such challenges, you give someone who's self-centered or self-seekers, like, okay, after winning as a member of parliament, they just keep quiet. All the best they can do, they post something on social media and they go and stays back home. It stays back home. That one would say, help us. We need leaders who will walk the action. Like today, for me, as in bio, I can command my people from my constituency. However, Eastern is far. We need those who are big, all leaders from the central. We should lead by example. Making a post, okay, I support demonstrations, does not save us. Let us go outside and lead by example. We should be the frontliners at the end of the day. Next slide. Yeah, overcoming the regime tactics. Yeah, this picture was taken on December 30th. This was in Kalangala. You know, they arrest you, they isolate you. So once you are isolated, you have your team, these guys were kept in over 4 months in prison. So if you, the leadership, the campaign team, all the entire campaign team was arrested. So it means the president was left alone. That affects us. So going forward, we shouldn't be having one team. At least we need to have 3 teams prepared. Let this one be is known to the entire public or with the media that this is the campaign team. Once they arrest them, at least you have other people to take over the mantle and continue with the struggle. That's what we are suggesting, because this tactics was used in 2020 and we're still seeing signs of it being repeated. For instance, most of our foot soldiers, especially those around the president, talk about Edmund is in the prison. You know, most of those guys around him are arrested. Why? They're in prison. Because they know that once I take these guys and I isolate him, it's like you are weakening him. So our leadership should okay, we should be always having a backup. The question is, how prepared are we to confront and overcome such tactics? 2020 election leaves no room for lamentations. We must deliver the victory to To Ugandans. A win is a win. Regardless of some guys you support football. Even if you get a penalty and you score, it's a win. So, guys, we should stop being nice guys. Why? In politics, I would like to use the example of the current Prime Minister of India. If you read his history, when he was hated by the West. Why? But I think one of his decisions he made, he cut off the hand of the corrupt officials. But once after taking power, right now they're celebrating him. What do we need to do? we should, I'm not saying that we should be radical, but I'm saying that we should do things differently this time. We shouldn't be nice guys in politics. I know that the leadership is getting this message. We shouldn't be nice, like especially in the Western in Western eyes, because in the Western countries. Because why is that? As long as the current regime serves their interests, they will always let us wait on products. State Department will issue statement, the election was not free and fair, then the following day, you will see the ambassador attending inauguration, you know? What does that imply? They don't care, as long as their interests are still protected, they are not on our people. So, protest vote should be a localized mission, based on we, the foot soldiers, we are the one to bring the change we need. Next slide. This is still post-election strategy. This picture you see, it was, I think, published 2 weeks. No, on August 5th. That is the Observer, one of the respectable newspapers in Uganda, how election will be stolen in 2026. For me, I had time and read it, and I thought it's very important as a leadership to learn and get prepared. Because, for instance, if you look at NRM, they have like over 18 registered voters, only NRM. And you know, it's like, it was like a translation of the previous. They use the national data to make it a political data, you know? It's like you are using total number of voters in the country, then you select like 80% to be on your side. So we need to, going forward, we need to work on such things. Yeah, Buganda region election defense task. We as California, Washington, and Colorado states, we believe that we need to come up with legal, medical, clergy, and data teams. Data teams implying that we shouldn't need like to have this team shouldn't be known, like, because, you know, if you are known or Mbayo is head of this, they will come and arrest Mbayo. It means then by the time we repress Mbayo, already it's like, oh, we are losing. Talk about the paramilitary centers, and this diaspora has to come in. We should have our own independent terror center, which is not known by the state. Because I know, I'm very sure that towards the end, or towards the election, our headquarters may be surrounded, as it has been the game, you know. If this was still a strong political party, they used to do that. And even NUP, you know what happened. So we should establish a paramilitary center, which is like invisible to the state mafias. Then talk about the rapid action protocol. This includes sitting, religious events, and market closures. Like, we're talking about post-election. Now, they have rigged the election. What do we need to do next? So, yeah, we have to close the markets, because we cannot continue preaching these things and there is no change, you know. Then towards the end, talk about the role of diaspora. We are here in the diaspora. The diaspora plays very important role, especially special, I can call it our chapters. Talk about California, one of the key chapters which are like facilitating our struggle back home. So the diaspora have to mobilize mass protests and engage in key government offices. We have to continue knocking the doors. This goes to special message to Karim Ntambi, has been doing this. So we need to continue knocking those key government doors. Civic education, I talked about it as I summarized. So for us as in the diaspora, we need to fund the central region, since we are given to take care of that region. Then train digital activists to lead online political engagements. The reason why this is very important is that when you train these soldiers, they're going to help us to fight these state diversions propaganda. Because if they're informed, at the end of the day, you know, they'll be able to detect and say, no, this is just a state propaganda, so we shouldn't pay attention. I talked about already paramilitary centers and coordinate voter protection. We need to defend our vote at the end of the day. So in conclusion, Buganda must not only vote, we must raise Buganda because we are the biggest region in the country. We have the capital city, we are the most informed, we have the resources, so we must raise up. Yeah, you may steal the vote, but you won't steal our voice. This time, we shouldn't be silenced. The music is you know? Yeah, 2026 is our opportunity, let us not waste it. So we are going to get them muscle with a strategy. So going forward, that's all some of the issues we have discussed as a chapter. And Akatalekeka, next slide. Yeah, Akatalekeka, as I was introduced, yeah, comrades, that's my poster. I'm officially in campaign because I know diaspora is so good, but at the end of the day, I wouldn't like to bring my family here. So if I bring my family, what will happen does it mean that I have to bring even my grand relatives? It is impossible. However, I decided, no, let me return home and rebuild Uganda. And as in bio, I can't do it alone. We need your support, guys. As I said, I'm just 35 years. I've spent most of my time in academia doing research and schooling, so I haven't gotten time to work and get resources. However, we can deliver this win together. Whatever little you can afford at the end of the day, support our mission. You know, with just $10, you can. With just $10, you are reaching our messages to seven families, which means that we are able to print posters to help our people spread their message. Thank you so much. I remain Richard Imbayo on behalf of California, Washington, and Colorado. Asante sana.
Thank you, Comrade Richard. Another round of applause to Comrade Richard. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Comrade Richard. Waliwo akantu kesitategera mu basajja bakola PhD abo. Wateekako erinnya ku Twitter ayongerako akagambo PhD. Kategeeza ki? Nange ntegeko JKP7. Yeah, but I'll find out from Dr. Ambayo. Yeah, comrades, in one of the discussions here, I was following Comrade Mbayo. There is a slide that he put up there, and they said, Wakiso, Mukono, and Kampala, those three districts have 11 million people. 6 million people. So the whole of Central is 11 million people. Comrades, I think twetagayo abantu a million ngemu yokka. And I know we have these young people back home. We don't need a lot of people. You know, I was speaking to a Zimbabwean colleague of mine, and he told me the reason as to why Mugabe managed to capture them for all those years. They said in Zimbabwe, there's a lot of educated people. So with this environment of so many educated people, everyone has a master's. PhDs are like, they are flying around. So when you tell a PhD holder to go forward on the front line to fight Museveni, they will say, I can't die with all my brain. They'll retreat. If you tell a PhD holder to go on the front line and fight, they'll tell you nedda. Nze musajja yasoma ebitabo byange emyaka 15 njagala PhD eno. I'll not go. So they kept themselves in that captivity. That's why we have to look at the young people abali waka, but there should be the brains in front to restructure, to plan on how Museveni is going to be exiting. We know very well that Museveni is no longer in charge. Me and you know that. Museveni is no longer in charge. If you see how rampant the child, the boy, the son is throwing statements on social media, shows you that he's no longer in charge. And the funny thing is, whenever you want to speak about the son, always have to attach the father. So he has not built his legacy. Last time, when the European Union visited General Saleh at his residence in Gulu, this is a general and also an uncle to the son. General Saleh was like, I'll try to speak to him and I'll see if he will not do the same thing tomorrow. Imagine. You're telling people that let your son stop torturing people in his basement, and the uncle is saying, I'll try to speak to him, but I don't know what he will be tweeting tomorrow. It's a mess. So that shows you Saleh is not in charge, Museveni is not in charge, it's Muhoozi who is in charge. So we have to buckle ourselves, we have to stand still. There is a war to fight. Nze nno ninayo akalowoozo kange sika amaanyi nnyo. Naye kano kalabika sika byabufuzi temuka recordinga. When Museveni went to the bush in 1986, you know, in the bush there is snakes, there is mosquitoes. In America they call it mosquitoes. There is mosquitoes, there is the rain, heavy rains, a lot of diseases, malaria and everything. Those people were very uncomfortable being in the bush and decided to push so hard so that they get to those beautiful homes and leave the bush. You see? So you fight knowing tomorrow you don't want to sleep in Garamba forest. You fight knowing tomorrow you don't want to sleep in Goma forest. That tomorrow I have to sleep in Kololo. Because we know they just captured those houses, those beautiful homes that Idi Amin built and Obote. So those officer messes in Kololo, they captured, they took over all those buildings without acquiring them. So these people were very uncomfortable. But somehow I feel we are fighters who are comfortable. We are fighters who have even the luxury of feeling the KSC sometimes when you're driving the beautiful roads of America and you're cruising around in your Highlander, your BMW, your Dodge. You're like, Nedda, can't pay your dollar for me. Bro, they need $100 from you. The struggle needs $200 from you, not $10. So, learn to remember that you, in your comfort zone, you have to be uncomfortable for the millions back home, for the cousins, for the sisters, for the brothers you have. I know all of us here come from extended families. In the Nabaganda wa 15, mashallah, alhamdulillah. 15 of them. So, there's a friend here, I know. Tata wa inawa na chinana. So, however rich he gets here in America, he cannot help the 79 siblings. It's next to impossible. So the only solution is reminding ourselves of the duty we have as Ugandans, as the people of this generation, that we have a big role to play. Some people will say, convention Professor Sejinja agenda biddamu, then someone, Dr. Mbai will come and speak again, Dr. John will come and speak again. I'm a Muslim. And whenever we go to Eid prayers, they remind us how Abraham did not sacrifice his son because God sent him a sheep to sacrifice. Since I was a kid, that's what they are preaching on Eid. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's a message of reminder. They kill the people in Uganda. They kill people in Kasese. These are things. They kill people in Burucho, in Acholi, in Iteso. These are things that we are forgetting. They kill people during the 19th and 18th of November, before the election, 2020. They kill people shooting randomly on the streets. Katimuja tugamba nti bane lwaki mubiddamu ne mubiddamu twagala onyigo okwatiyo $5 oleme kukwata $5 okwatiyo at least $2 ogamba omanyi let me sacrifice for the struggle. Bannange, you all know here President waffe tali yala. President Kyagulanyi is not broke. You know that. He can take care of his family. Nebaganda mubalaba. You see the siblings are also doing well. Kubanga twandigambya President alwana nnyo ayambe chairman Nyanza amuzimbire ennyumba. No. President alwana nnyo azimbire Edi yawe ennyumba. No. These people have acquired their wealth. Nze kyemmanyi wano, I know
There are people that are calling every single day. There are people who have called you from your village, from your home in the morning. At least if your people are wealthy, there are people that you help at your village. Or you know, mukadde gomanyi ku kyalo kyammwe gosobola okusindika $10 n'akusabira ensi yonna ofune n'ekizimbe ne Trump Tower bagikuwe. Nga gyali eyo omwa $10 ku kyalo n'akusabira ne Trump Tower bagikuwe. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have to remind ourselves of the role we have in rescuing Uganda. Basebo ne bannyabo, tuyinayo surprise paper presentation from one of our comrades. Comrade Mbayo would be the last one. Ngabwali MP, but tufunyeyo surprise discussion from our comrade brother, Comrade Hilary Taylor Seguya. Agenda tuyisizamu a small slide briefly, then we can see other programs. I'm told the president will be joining us shortly, and you know, later we're going to be having the First Lady. We're going to be having the First Lady have us in a session yetugenda okuba naye, and please, let's try to be there. Tuligezaako kimaliza kino mu bwangu, then we go and refresh a little bit, then joining a First Lady later with the session. So, comrade, you're welcome.
Thank you. People power, our power. I was a scout in my childhood, and they used to tell us that scouts, our motto was be prepared. So we're always prepared. I was, reached out, and they were asking me, do you have anything to talk about? I was like, I didn't have anything, but I've been talking about lots of things, from climate change to human rights to political rights, everything. So today I said, let me talk about corruption, because corruption is a cancer we are dealing with in the government of Uganda. So I'm going to present about the political corruption in Uganda. All the problems we are facing or we are dealing with in Uganda, we are dealing, with them because of corruption. And as the late Pope Francis said, that corruption is paid by the poor. The rich don't pay for corruption. It is us, the wananchi, the ordinary Ugandans, the poor Ugandans, who are always paying back the huge price by politicians who are borrowing irresponsibly just to steal government resources. So we are saying enough is enough. We need to teach people the bigger picture of how corruption is in Uganda so that everyone can understand. Let's go to the next slide, please. So my research question is, how have corruption scandals persistently troubled dictator Kaguta Museveni for the past 40 years he has been in power? And the thesis is saying that despite Uganda having a strong legal and institutional framework, corruption remains high due to impunity and consolidation of presidential power, which is catalyzed by his bad governance. Next slide, please. So this is my flow of the presentation. So first, I talk about the introduction of what corruption is, then the methodology I used. I give a background of corruption in Uganda. I talk about the legal and institutional frameworks we have in Uganda. Then what is causing corruption for the last 40 years or since Uganda was born, the impacts corruption is having to our economy, and also some of the case studies that I've used to come up with this presentation. And then lastly, I conclude this presentation. So everyone is going to ask, what is corruption? So many scholars give different definitions of what corruption is. So looking at Oslo and McGuire, they say that corruption is the misuse of public office for private gain. So many of our politicians or public servants, they are misusing their offices for their individual benefits. And it is also a reality that majority of us are corrupt, even including here in this hall. We've been corrupt in different ways, like we are going to discuss. Sometimes when you're corrupting a police officer, not to give you a ticket, that is a form of corruption. You don't have to be in political office. So there are lots of forms of corruption. Sometimes you're engaging in corruption when you don't know. Sometimes you're asking for kickbacks, and you're not aware that you're also a victim of this cancer we are dealing with. So these are the forms of corruption. One, there is embezzlement. You've seen how different politicians in our country have embezzled lots of funds. And then two, there is vote buying and rigging. So some people don't know that vote rigging is a different form of corruption. So if you pay someone maybe 50 Ugandan shillings, or if you give them a packet of salt, a bar of soap, you're corrupting the voters. So we have to look at all these means of corruption in Uganda. Then extortion, we've seen how people are extorting money from us, the wananchi. Sometimes you're going to ask to renew your driver's license or to get a passport, and people are extorting money from you. Sometimes you want to get a business license to ensure that you invest in our business environment, you take back money home. But again, people who are in those offices, they're extorting money from you in order for you to get the service that you want to get from those offices. Then there is patronage. You've seen how dictator Museveni, for the last 40 years, he has mastered the art of patronage. He's using the money to buy off opponents. So look at Joyce Sebugwao. She was a very strong cadre in FDC. But right now, she's conniving with the junta. Look at Betty Kamya. She used to be the leader of the Democratic Federal Alliance, but now she's gone. The Minister of Justice, Norbert Mao, is in the armpits of the dictator. So if we don't also fight against this, we may end up being swallowed by this dictator Museveni. So that's why we must avoid this. Then there's bribery as the last form of corruption. Next slide, please. So this is the background of corruption in Uganda. I start by giving the Corruption Perception Index by Transparency International. So Transparency International is going to help us with the rankings to know how corrupt is Uganda in the rest of the world. So we are ranking 141 out of 180 countries in the world, according to Transparency International, which is a bad signal because if you look at the table is so small, like on the far right below corner, it was showing like in 1996, Uganda was ranking 43, but today we are ranking 141 as the most corrupt in Uganda, in the world rather. Then I talk about dictatorship. So we've been stuck with one, skunked snail dictator, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. He has been in power, oppressing, repressing, and suppressing us for 4 decades. And who knows, because he wants to become a lifetime dictator. But our generation, we are saying that has to come to an end. We must end tyranny. So if we fail to end tyranny today, then we are going to be held accountable by the young generations, mainly the Gen Zs that are looking at us. So Museveni has been trading on the promise of, I have zero tolerance of corruption, but he has failed to curb corruption. Then I talk about the good laws. Uganda is known as one of the best countries with the best laws when it comes to fighting corruption. But when it comes to implementation, we are the worst. So we have to think about different ways as the NUP, with the new Uganda we're promising, how are we going to implement these laws without impunity to ensure that those who are corrupt, they're held accountable. I talk about also the HIPC. It means Uganda is a heavily indebted poor country because we've been borrowing irresponsibly and endlessly from institutions like the World Bank, the IMF, the Exim Bank of China, even locally from banks like Standard Bank. So this endless borrowing has put us where we are. Because every year, as a country, Uganda, we are losing 10 trillion Ugandan shillings. This is a disaster for a heavily indebted poor country. So our public debt, right now as we speak, it is 111 trillion Ugandan shillings. So we are having a debt economy because our leaders are borrowing irresponsibly. So we are saying, Despot Museveni and his junta, they have to cut their appetite of borrowing from these institutions. So we have to push back to the World Bank, to Exim Bank, to the African Development Bank, and local banks to tell them to stop irresponsibly giving money to this dictator because he's stealing it. Because data shows 10 trillion is lost every year. Yet that would be put in key sectors like the one of health, education, or agriculture to ensure that we don't suffer as we're suffering today. So it is so sad that 44% of our revenue we are collecting from the Uganda Revenue Authority, it goes to corruption. So nearly half of what URA collects, it gets wasted to corruption because of the bad governance we have in our country, Uganda. So this must stop. And as NUP, we are saying, we are tired of business as usual. We want to fix the mess. That's what Museveni has created for the last 40 years. Next slide, please. So this is the legal framework of fighting corruption. So the regime has put lots of acts to ensure that we fight corruption. So we have the Constitution of Uganda, the one of 1995. We have the Inspectorate of Government Act. It was enacted in 2002. We have the National Audit Act of 2008. We have the Whistleblowers Protection Act of 2010. We have the Leadership Code Act of 2002, the Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Assets Act of 2003. We have the Anti-Corruption Act of 2009 and the Public Finance Management Act of 2015. So you see, legally, our framework is strong. But when it comes to implementation or enforcement, we've failed totally because of bad governance. And this must stop. It is our generation. It is me. It is you. It is us to fix this mess and build a better country for each and every person. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So the other one was legal framework. Now, this is the institutional framework. What institutions has this dictator Museveni put in place to deceive us for 40 years that is fighting corruption? So it's just blinding us. One, we have the IGG office. It has been in implementation for years. But just last year, they recovered only 2.3 billion out of 15 cases they were investigating. So they're not doing work. They just come up with a few cases just to blind us that the regime is fighting corruption. Yet in the actual sense, they're doing nothing. So if you're just recovering 2.3 billion in 1 year, yet we are losing 10 trillion in a year, this is a waste of tax resources because they're just wasting resources and time. So the IGG office has failed. We have the OAG office, the Office of the Auditor General. So he gives a report every year painting a picture of how corrupt the regime of Despot Museveni is. We have the Directorate of Ethics and Integrity, DEI. It has failed. We have the media, because the media is giving a reflection or a picture of what's happening in this country of ours that we care about. Then we have the old DPP office, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, Abodwa. She has failed. She has failed to go for the big fish. They're just going for silver fish. Yet the whales are left to steal and walk away scot-free. So this must stop. As NUP, we have to be more serious when it comes to fighting against corruption. So we have the SCDHC, the Anti-Corruption Division of High Court. So this one, it has held some cases whereby it helps with expediting cases of corruption to recover some funds. Then we have the PAC in Parliament, the Public Accounts Committee. Today it is our Member of Parliament, Medad Segona, who is heading the PAC. But if you ask him, how much has your committee recovered for the last 4 years you've been in Parliament? The figures are appalling. They are no good figures it's going to give you. So these frameworks, institutionally, they have failed. Then we have the civil society, the NGOs, the non-government organizations, which are, speaking out, painting a picture on who is corrupt. You saw a few years, I think last year, we had hashtags, mainly some of you who are using X or Twitter. We are pushing back. We can, decide to touch, we can say today we are looking at educational institution, Makerere University. Tomorrow we are looking at national waters. The other day we are looking at Parliament. And you saw how the activists have been fought back. Agatha Twaire, she has been tortured by the regime because of exposing corruption in this junta of Despot Museveni. Many activists, human rights defenders, have been incarcerated because they're talking about the cancer of corruption in this regime of Despot Museveni. But we can't stop to speak about this problem in Uganda. So as some of you who are, are linked to NGOs or the civil society, I encourage us to keep pushing back, because CSOs play an imperative role when it comes to fighting corruption. We're not where we want to be, but at least if these other institutions have failed, we still have hope in the CSOs. But again, you see also Museveni is fighting back. You saw how many NGOs have been shut down because they're trying to fight back. But we can't give up. So it is resilience and courage is the antidote to dictators like Museveni. Next slide, please. So this was the methodology of coming up with everything that is presented today. So there are some case studies that are being used to paint a clear picture. There's a poll I conducted on my X platform or Twitter. Then there are newspapers locally that I was using to get the reality of what's happening in our country. Then I was also using Transparency International with their perception index to ensure that I get where Uganda is. So many of you will be asking, but what is causing this cancer of corruption in Uganda? Why have we failed to curb corruption for the last 40 years? So I divided this into 4 groups. So the first one is impunity. You steal and you walk away scot-free because you're connected to the first family, because your surname is coming from one region, because you were headhunted for that job, so nobody's going to touch on you. So we've seen all these cases. You know what happened to the Chogam money. You know what happened to COVID-19. If today we decide to carry out an investigation on how much we lost just on COVID-19, the lockdown, it will be a disaster. So we have to be interested. If we get to power, we have to go back and investigate. How much did we borrow during the lockdown of COVID-19? How much did we lose? Who stole it? And we bring them to books of justice. Because we can't just look on when our country is collapsing before our eyes. So it is a sad reality that impunity is leading to selective prosecution. Then we have the parallel structures that, have also failed. Because today you're wondering, if you're fighting corruption, the institutions are being held in State House. You see the anti-corruption unit in State House. Why are they in the State House? Museveni is just duplicating institutions, just to paint an image to the international community that I'm trying, I'm doing everything. Now, if the courts have failed, I'm fighting corruption from State House. But that is wrong. There is no independence of institutions. So there is no way an anti-corruption unit in State House is going to come after the leader of corruption, Museveni, or his family. No way. That's why it has failed. So we also have power centralization. So we see how many laws in Uganda have been manipulated, like the removal of the presidential limit or term limits. So that's a form of corruption. If you shred the constitution by amending it in your own favor, because we say the corruption is the misuse of public office for your personal gain. So autocrat Museveni amended the constitution by removing the age limit and term limits so that he can personally gain to become a president for life. And we're saying this madness must stop with our generation. So there is also public apathy. So many Ugandans, they have normalized corruption. Because if today we ask Ugandans, do you care about corruption? They look at it as something normal. Many of us here, you're like, you don't care. Many of us here, you go back to Uganda for your vacation, and you're corrupting people because you want things to move faster. You want to process your passport in 1 week. They tell you there is a procedure. You're going to bribe someone. Am I lying? Yeah, so it is a sad reality that we have to confront. Go back, look yourself into the mirror, and ask yourself, where is the problem? What have I done? Or what can I do to ensure that this stops immediately? Next slide, please. So, corruption, whenever we steal or whenever we misuse government resources, it comes with implications. And these are some of the effects of corruption in Uganda. So on the left, you see some of the corruption scandals or the money we've lost because of misusing government resources. So we have the economic cost. As I've shared, we are losing 10 trillion Ugandan shillings every year because of corruption. That is the economic cost we are paying. So this is the debt burden. It may not be you paying back that debt, but your grandchildren or your children are the ones going to carry this burden. And whenever we are wasting money to debt servicing, other key sectors are being affected, like education and health. Because they're telling us 20 mothers are dying every year while giving birth, which is wrong. Many children under the age of 5 are dying because our health sector is underfunded. So we spend too much toward debt servicing instead of investing in our health or investing in agriculture or investing in education. So we have to reverse all these things to ensure that we empower all the Ugandans. Then with corruption, of course, we are going to lose trust in the system. We lose trust in our leaders. That's why, by show of hands, who trusts Museveni here? So now you see, so because the regime is corrupt, we've lost trust in this regime. He came with hope. If you go back and read the New York Times headlines in 1986, they were praising this dictator Museveni as a reformer. But today, they can't give him the same headlines because he has a history of deception. He has failed, and we've lost trust in him. So as leaders, our brother wants to go to Parliament in Bio. Make sure that we don't lose trust in you. We want to always trust you. We want to trust our leader, Kyagulanyi Robert Ssentamu, as the president of Uganda once he gets to power and fixes this mess. So also, whenever you steal, it means you're denying others access to services, which is a big problem. Today, if you look at just education, we have an education crisis. Millions of our children are out of school because of extreme poverty. Many young children today are walking to school barefooted. Many are sitting in classrooms on empty stomachs. Many go to classes when there are no teachers. Many go to classes when there are no class materials. Many are walking kilometers, 10 kilometers, just to access education. Many are missing out of school because they can't afford buying a sanitary pad. And this is wrong. It is creating an education loss to the young generation. So whenever you steal, you're denying the public or others services. So it is sad that this mismanagement of healthcare and education funds has led us where we are today. And then lastly, I talk about the international relations. Today you see that also our friends, international development partners, or the donors, they are running away. They've cut aid because they can't keep feeding Uganda or giving Uganda funds. Wow, the junta is stealing it and there are no actions taken. Let's begin with the USA. You know what happened with USAID? They cut the funding they were giving to Uganda. But do you know how many Ugandans were benefiting from just USAID in terms of accessing drugs or medicine of HIV? Many people are impacted. And people can't access these things anymore. So people were getting money from USAID in terms of treatment for tuberculosis, malaria, polio. So today we are struggling. You go to the UK, they have a right-wing politician. He has cut aid. Go to Germany, same problem. They have a right-wing politician. He has said his government is going to cut aid. So they are thinking about their countries. Now you see how the foreign policy has changed. It is America first, Germany first, UK first. As Uganda, what is our policy? If you ask any Ugandan, what's the foreign policy of Uganda? It is vague, we don't know it. We are fighting useless wars, free of charge. Donald Trump says he's going to solve a problem in Congo, but you give him resources, you give him timber or lithium to make the iPhones we love using. He's saying, I'm going to Somalia. He wants uranium to make nuclear weapons. Uganda, how many wars have we fought? You go to Somalia, you go to the Great Lakes region, go to the Middle East. We fought many wars, but nobody sees where the money goes. So these individuals who are bargaining for selfish interests, not national interests. So it is time to think about national interests, not individual interests, if you want to build a better country, Uganda. So our friends, the development partners, they now have a bad image about Uganda because we are abusing human rights. We are enacting bad laws in bad faith. Even us, the opposition, we have to touch ourselves because I was having a fight with some of the MPs in my own party, NUP. Why would you vote for an oppressive law? The anti-homosexuality law. Because you're fighting against the existence of a marginalized group. People are born different. That's the reality we have to accept. We're here in America. You have gay friends, neighbors, pilots, drivers. They give services. You may not know, maybe this hotel is owned by a gay, but we are here. So we can't discriminate people because of who they are or because of who they love. So all these things have to change. Because whenever, as the opposition, we engage in oppressive laws, we are painting a bad image. That on this hand, we are fighting for justice, but again, on the other hand, we are oppressing marginalized communities, which is wrong. So let's fight for a Uganda whereby each and every person is treated equally. Next slide, please. Maybe before you see some of these cases, okay, that's gone. So these are some of the case studies of corruption in Uganda. So recently you saw the iron sheets scandal by the Speaker of Parliament, Anita Mong. So we got good examples. How can the Speaker of Parliament be in the office stealing iron sheets and she walks away scot-free? That is impunity I'm talking about. You saw Agnes Nandutu. These were ministers. The Deputy Minister of Finance, he was engaged in this kind of stealing iron sheets. So how can they, none of them has been, held guilty of these crimes. So if you go to the privatization, this regime has sold a lot of our companies. So we had the UCB. as our bank, but Museveni sold it, the Uganda Commercial Bank. So we had this company, the NHAS, which was covering cargo at the airport. He sold it to Sam Kutesa. Sam Kutesa is one of the most corrupt Ugandans in the history of our country. And you saw how when he became the president of the UN General Assembly, he was getting bribes from Patrick Ho, and even gave a bribe of $500,000 to Despot Museveni. Museveni, when he was asked about that bribe, he said it was a donation. But we know the reality. The New York court circuit, they charged Patrick Ho. I think he's still serving his 5 years because of that corruption bribe he got. So then I talk about another case study of corruption in the oil sector. You had the former Minister of Finance, Saida Bumba. She was on record of saying that she signed oil agreements without reading them. So it was costing us money, but she was doing it deliberately because I know they read these things. So government lost 568 billion in terms of tax waiver. The agreements of ECOP today, the East African Crude Oil Pipeline, they are held in secrecy. We've been demanding where are these oil agreements. Ask the leader of opposition, Joel Sanyon is here. Ask him, have you read the ECOP agreement? He will tell you no. But these are 5 years now, 6 years. We are demanding year after year, where are these ECOP agreements? They are holding them in secrecy. Yet Uganda joined the EITI, the Extractives Industry Transparency Initiative, in 2020 August, to ensure that we are transparent about our resources of oil. But this regime is shameless, and they are doing everything deliberately. This pipeline ECOP has displaced over 100,000 communities in Uganda and Tanzania. Many people have been underpaid. Some are not yet being paid. People are demanding for compensations. Human rights activists are being arrested. Journalists who are reporting about it, they're being arrested. So the pipeline has become an abomination of human rights and ecocide. So we are saying we'd rather stop this pipeline because this is a climate carbon bomb in our backyards. It's going to emit 34 million tons of climate pollution every year at peak production. That is 379 million metric tons of its entire lifetime of climate pollution. Today, the entire world is talking about making a green transition, investing in renewables. As a young country, we are investing in a carbon bomb called the East African Crude Oil Pipeline, which we don't know the agreements are being hidden from us. So there are lots of things that are going on in our country. Next, please. But we have to look at a broader picture. So in Uganda, corruption has just now started becoming a headline. It's like every day you wake up, you're going to find a headline about corruption in our country. This is sad. But don't give up on speaking up against these corruption scandals. We must fight back if we are to win this war against corruption. Look at this. This was Daily Monitor. Thieves hide behind Museveni. This is the IGG saying it, that the thieves are hiding behind the dictator Museveni. So once you steal, there's a shield they are giving you. They call it the corruption shield. And lots of headlines. Next, please. So this was a poll on my X platform at Hillary Taylor VI. So I was asking Ugandans, how well or badly would you say this current regime of Kaguta Museveni is fighting against corruption for the last 38 years in Uganda? So I said, very well, fairly well, bad, or very bad. So 84% of those who engaged in this poll, they said they feel that the regime has badly, fought back against corruption. Next, please. Now, these are some of the quotes we've heard from our leader, Museveni. Sadly, is the president of Uganda. So at one time, on 9th December 2021, that's what Museveni said, go slow on lifestyle audit. We are still lucky that our corrupt people are corrupt here in Uganda. But if they realize that their lifestyle is being audited, they will instead take what they stole abroad, and it will be hard to track them. On July 1st, 2019, Museveni said, there is no way the NRM can fail to defeat corruption. 2023, he said, I am going to crush these corrupt people. July 2024, he said, fighting corruption is not as difficult as many might think. But he has failed to fight corruption. So it's just rhetorical when it comes to fighting corruption. When it comes to actions, it is a total fail. You just give him a grade F, that he has totally failed to fight corruption. There is a video, but I can't play it, I think. There's no mic there. But let's go to the next, please. I think it's the last one. So in conclusion, yeah, the last, please. The next. So folks, comrades, in conclusion, I say that corruption is rewarded to maintain dictator Museveni's grip to power. So as I told you early in the morning during the Chimenza, those who were here, I told you that dictators in the world use 3 pillars to remain in power. The first pillar is corruption, the second pillar is propaganda, and the third pillar is violence. So now Museveni is effectively using corruption to strengthen his grip on power, which we have to, because if we fight back against corruption and win this war, he will be nowhere to be seen. So enforcement, our laws, they are very good, but when it comes to enforcing them, we've failed. So implementation of these laws needs to be revised. Then the cost of corruption, as we said, it is nearly 10 trillion Ugandan shillings every year that we're losing because of corruption, which could fund 23% of our national budget. Then I've talked about absolute power. So Museveni is using absolute power to control all institutions because of corruption. Today, the parliament, the judiciary, they are under his control because he's a corrupt leader. So I talk about also reforms. How can we fix this mess? So I conclude by saying we need a system overhaul to end this. So as they said, the fish rots from head to bottom. So we need an overhaul to fix this kinds of corruption in Uganda. And this comes with political will. Without political will, we can't fight corruption. We shall be deceiving ourselves. So we need leaders who are going to have the will to fight corruption. Then lastly, it is the issue of impunity. It is leaving the big fish to walk scot-free. They come for some of us, we the wananchi. You just make a small case and they put you in jail for 10 years. A government leader, official, or someone connected to the regime, to the first family, steals billions. They are not even tried in courts of law because of impunity. So we have to fight back against this impunity in our new government to ensure that we fix this mess. So I finish by saying that corruption is rewarded in Uganda instead of being fought, which is ridiculous. So I'll also finish by saying, or going back to the quote of the late Pope Francis, corruption is paid by the poor people. So looking at what I've presented, you see it is not the rich who are paying, but the poor Ugandans. But I believe that we as concerned Ugandans, we are going to unite and find reforms to fix this mess. It is collective responsibility. It is our moral imperative to act now and end this madness of corruption in Uganda. Thank you so much.
Thank you. People power, our power, NUP, everywhere. People power, our power, NUP, everywhere. Oli abakuba amasasi bakuba mundu ne batta abantu kati fe amaanyi tulina okugongeramu. NUP everywhere. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Comrade Justice Hunter. He's always hunting for justice. And nze kirabika ngenda kwetuuma Museveni Hunter. But let's be realistic one night. Let's have an honest talk. How do you be president for 40 years? And you're still seeking for more 5 years. You want to be president for 45 years. Like what's that madness? At least, muchimanyi nti waliwo bannayuganda bwe baatuuka ne bagamba oba mukazi we naye atukwatemu etaano tuwumulemuko. Like, that's the disparities. Like, there is that time when Ugandans felt like it's really too much. Gwe mulungi omu, gwasinga otegeera, gwasinga okumanya. Like, you do everything crazy. It's so sad. And I'm like, man, don't these people have kids to speak to them? His level of trust is so low that he can't even trust his son, even for 5 years or 2 days or 3 days. The last time he was sick after 40 years, said Nup Banja should take on for 3 days. Nup Banja aliko president wa Uganda, no, if you don't remember. Nup Banja was given authority for 3 days. And that's the craziness that is there. It is so sad for our country. Without wasting a lot of time, because we're going to be having a session with the First Lady after a small rest, please endeavor to come through. Tulina Olivia Lutaya, she will be joining us tomorrow. We speak about what she went through. Tulina our dear professors. I think they will be analyzing and taking stock of what has been said here. Then on the closing dinner, they'll be giving us the results of the outcome. This has been a very beautiful engagement with messages, mostly speaking about Museveni's leaving. Basically, we've been tackling corruption, human rights, the killing, extrajudicial killings, but it all wraps up to Museveni's leaving. Prof, I want to remind people here. My son is only 4 years and he has seen 2 presidents. The father, the father is almost there. The father is almost there, and he has only seen 1 president. It is so sad for our country. Yeah, so at this particular moment, allow me to invite Doctor. Yeah, thank you. Then we shall have a prayer from Haji, closing prayer from Haji Mogera. Yeah, thank you.
People power, people power, our power. I think sometimes when you're on social media, people say how NUP has no policies, that we don't know what we are fighting for. But this session has been really a reflection of our diversity, our views. We have seen every region of Uganda, how we can win through the protest vote. We have seen the challenges facing Ugandans in North, in East, in West, in the Central region. We have talked about corruption. So this is a party which really wants to transform Uganda. We have the tools, we have the brain power, we have the people who can bring the change that we need. And I'm very sure this message is going to reach our leaders. We're going to keep having these conversations this weekend to make sure that we leave this place where we are mobilized, when we are motivated, when we know the solutions that we need to fix our country. So what can we do as a diaspora? and I think Madam Grace talked about this. We can mobilize, we can do outreach through social media, we can lobby to make sure we get election observers, to make sure our foreign policy is understood, to make sure we build allies in the diaspora. But for this convention, we can pledge. We can pledge to support the struggle in Uganda. So you're going to see some pledge cards, which we'll be distributing. They will be at the registration desk. I know Madam Winnie and Grace has some of those cards. So take one of these cards and you pledge what you can and bring it back to the registration desk. We shall be giving out certificates this weekend, depending on which level you want to make a donation. Any donation counts. It might not always be monetary. I know some of you have resources. You might work for a company which makes cameras. You might work for a company which might give equipment that the electoral team can use for the National Unity Platform. So if you have access to resources other than what's on the pledge card, that's also welcome. I know in previous elections, many of you donated your cars, you donated equipment, you donated boots, among other equipments which are used by the team at the National Unity Platform. So let's do whatever we can to make sure we support the team in Uganda to have a successful protest vote across the country, Northern Uganda, East, West, South. We need to make sure that we tackle every part of the country. So because of time, we're going to wrap up this session. Tonight, we have a session for the First Lady. The President is going to be also present. He got caught up and couldn't come to this session, but he's going to be around tonight. That session is supposed to start at 7 p.m. So that means we're only giving you half hour. I know last session I said take an hour, but I really request that take as less time as possible. Come back here, and the reason why I want you to come back early is because I want you guys to have a good time tonight. We have a meet and greet. We have our DJs who are going to give us some good music tonight. So I want us to get through the serious business as early as possible, because the less time we use, the more time you have to relax and enjoy yourselves. So let's try to be back early so we can go through that session quickly, and then we can relax and enjoy ourselves until 1 a.m. That's the plan tonight. So please try to be back here at 7 o'clock or a little bit after 7 so that we listen to the First Lady and the rest of the presentations that we have. Thank you so much to our judges. I'm not going to give you a chance to speak. I'm from the DMV community, so you can give extra points to Madam Winnie. But Hillary Taylor has talked about corruption, so I'm not going to ask for the extra points. Just wanted to mention that. Oh, so I've been told tonight's session is culture theme. Culture theme. So abaina gomesi, neba nakubira endongo mu gomesi. Kale. Abaina gomesi, abaina kanzu, emishanana nechechirala. Madam Winnie. Yeah. So tonight's theme is culture outfit. Is 30 minutes enough to put on a gomesi? Nemu fubeba nange. So culture outfit tonight, if you can. If you can't, you can keep on your outfit. Tetuja kugova. So go take a few minutes, refresh. We're going to be back here in 30 minutes, all right? So we can listen to the First Lady and the rest of our leaders. Madam Natavi, future MP, will go to speak tonight as well. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for your patience. God bless you all, and we'll see you tonight.
Time for Chagulani.
All right, guys, mwebale kubeerako narweiso Janet. Tugenda kuddamu mu session egenda okubeera ng'eddako. Lady Masaka, Barista Sheriff, Connie Naroga, Winnie wa Bobby, Michael, n'abalala mwena bisemu nawe nkulengeddeko. Boston NUP Convention ikyagenda maaso. Eno eringa session yesoose in brief embanga mbiyisiza mu bwangu. Iringa session yesoose naye nga program egenda gendera ddala paka ku Sunday. Gwe kyoba olina okukola weekuumire ku platform zaffe zonna, wano ku YouTube, ku Facebook, everywhere. JB Muwonge TV egenda kubeera streaming live okuva paka buli kimu nga kiwedde. Paka buli kimu nga kiwedde. So woba ojja wano ku YouTube no check nga tewali anything going on, just go to JB Muwonge TV on Facebook. Nenga mwebale kubeerako, mwebale kugoberera nsonga, mwebale kwerekereza kadde kammwe. Ebirowoozo by'Abaganda baffe bino birungi nnyo era nga olabanga buli ayimuka okubeerako ne kyayogera. Brilliant. Kyekyo President waffe kye yagamba nti bannayuganda bangi nnyo abadduse mu Uganda yaffe eno, nga sigamba nti no baagala naye just nga bagenze kimakinga mbulamu, nga mu ggwanga lyaffe eno Uganda tebikyasoboka. Naye nga singa embeera ebeeteredde, ng'ensi eri mirembe, nga waliwo ng'efugibwa ku mateeka, tewakyaliwo kibbataka, tewakyaliwo kiwamba abantu, tewakyaliwo fugabbi, nga buli munnayuganda yeeyagala, abannayuganda bonna bagenda koma mu Uganda yaffe eno, ate bayambeko okugikulaakulanya. Eryo nno ye pulaani kw'abantu bayitirivu nnyo abaddukidde mu UAE, mu UK, mu US, South Africa, abayina amadegrees, abayina zi PhDs, abayina zi masters, abataasomako naye ng'obwongo bweseranga bwa His Excellency Kyagulanyi. So given platform egenda okubeera nga ebayambako okufeeling at home, bagenda kukomawo. So okyawuliriza, in brief, this is just the beginning. Ocha experiencing views mpitirivu nnyo okuva mu Baganda baffe bangi nnyo nga bakugambye this is just the beginning era nga tugenda kuba tukomawo. Alright guys, mbeere bulungi, mweraba kujja nga waliwo alina kyabuuza mu comment section awo nsobola okukiddamu nga sinnaba kunyiga sign out. Comrade Thomas Kagezi yayitidde wansi awo ya ku super chat nankwangayo omusimbi omuyitirivu ennyo ogulengera awo ndowooza. Webale nnyo comrade. Is there anyone ayina ekibuuzo kyonna oba tewali? Ki kyenyinza okuba nga neerabidde okubagamba nga kya mugaso nnyo? Ndowooza nange sina kye neerabidde. Ndowooza nange sina kye neerabidde n'ekimu. Ndowooza okuggyako mpozi okubajjukiza nti the vetting program ekyagenda mu maaso era ya Northern Uganda local governments ekyagenda bulungi mu maaso. West Nile yabaddeyo actually nga 8 this Friday, then tomorrow that's Koboko, Maracha, Terego, Arua district, Arua city, then same Saturday Lango, that is Dokoro, Amorata, Otuke, Lila District, Lila City, Alebotong, Kwania, Apak. Then, yeah, give a share. No, I cannot share it. I can't share it. Actually, bagenda kuba vetinga ku Monday nga 11, Karamoja Monday nga 11. Yeah, program ya Northern Uganda local government ya EMCF yafulumye kubango yinayo munne yesimbiyo mugambe yetegeke bulungi yebereremu. Ya bagenda kubasalako yo abasunsulemu ate batufunira abakulembeze abagenda okubeeranga bagguse ensonga. Ndaba nga twali muntu n'omu ayina kyabu